So, Nico, you hearing me?
Yes.
All right. Yes. The audience of today is also can also hear us. If not, let us know in the chat. If you can't hear us, if you experience any technical problems or issues. Big welcome to everyone who's joining today. We have a great guest today, Nico Bitzer. I'm going to tell you a little bit about him in a second. When we dive deeper into this topic of today, unleashing the bots, how we can use software robots to automate processes, with a focus on the L&D space, learning and development space. Before I do introduce Nico, let me give you a quick overview, a quick framing of our host of today and the kind organizer of this event and of many more events to come, and also many events in the past that have been of great interest and great value to the L&D community, with a focus on Berlin. This is the Berlin community, started and mainly run by Ola. Probably most of you guys are familiar or know Ola. If you don't, just a quick overview what Berlin can offer you. Basically, its core purpose is to connect people from all over the learning and development space and corporations and small and medium enterprises and startups. They're hosting events regularly to connect people. They set up a mentorship program to connect experienced and new joiners in the learning space to learn from each other, and various other things. I suggest to check it out, either on LinkedIn, on the brand new homepage, or connect via social media. Um, any more questions about Berlin? Don't be afraid. Raise it in the chat. We will forward it to Ola. I'm sure Ola will also watch this event today, and if not, we'll have the chance to watch the recording and see all your questions. One more hint or request I have for you guys listening today about questions is, if you have questions for Nico throughout this presentation or afterwards for the question and answering session that we're going to have, then please use Slido. We decided to use Slido so everybody has the chance to ask questions in an anonymous way. Just to prevent people from hesitating to feel they're asking stupid questions. Obviously, we don't believe in stupid questions. There is no such thing. There's rather stupid answers than stupid questions, but I'm sure Nico is going to give you lots of great answers. So check out the chat already. There you see the URL for Slido. Slido.com or sly.do, and the hashtag for the event is Berlin, as you normally spell it. Just sign up, post your questions there. I'll check them and I'll ask them for you to Nico, and he'll give us the answers. So, talking of Nico, Nico is an experienced L&D expert who used to work for PwC for quite some years, running projects with corporations, small and medium enterprises, and supporting in all sorts of requirements and challenges that you face when you set up new learning programs, when you set up new technology for managing your learning programs. But now has decided not too long ago to start his own company, to run his own business, and he founded Bots and People. And together with a colleague, they're focusing on solving a problem that they have identified, which is there is not enough knowledge and there is not enough talent focusing on automating processes in the L&D space, but also in other areas of industries. But this is going to be a huge market. This is going to be a huge requirement in the future. So they're trying to help out there. They're trying to solve that and tackle that problem. And today he will give us an overview and a little insights into what actually process automation holds, what are software robots, what is process mining, and he'll be happy to take all your questions, answering all questions, and guide you if you want to more process automation within the learning and development space. And that I've said, and I do want to hand over to Nico, but I forgot to introduce myself. Just real quick, my name is Philip Philippon. It's not a joke, yeah, but as Nico does, you can laugh about it. I'm used to it. I work for Energy Consulting, the Learn Lab especially, and we also do focus on learning solutions. If you want to learn more, send me an email, hit me up on social media, preferably on LinkedIn. That's about it. So, Nico, are you ready? Do you want to take us in the world of bots?
Yeah, I'm happy to do so. Thank you, Philip. Thank you for the introduction. It's nice to see Tony and Ira here, at least on my screen. Yeah, I will even meet Tony probably in factory soon. So if you have any further questions, we can also discuss it by coffee. All right, yeah. So I will give you the insights, as Philip mentions, about process automation. And I mapped the cases and everything about process automation here on the learning and development field. So it's quite practical for you, and that you can see use cases to really to really identify cases in your daily work and also automate processes or think about automating processes. Yeah, and there's a spoiler at the beginning of the presentation already. Process automation can help learning and development to focus again on creative tasks. So many people think if they think about automation, that robots will take the jobs of people, and it's quite a little scary to think about robotic process automation and automation in general. But our experience, and also the experience of the many companies which with which we've been talking, is that actually the people are very happy that processes get automated and they can focus on creative things again. And especially in the learning and development world, it's really, really important to focus on the creativity of yourself. So I was working for some years in an academy, in a corporate academy, and there was a lot about processes, politics, and I always wished that there was more focus on developing creative concepts. And this is what you can do by automating those processes beforehand. So what is this, you would ask probably. I was on a holiday this year in Sri Lanka in, let's think about it, March. And this is a tea factory I visited. And I was quite impressed about this tea factory because there was a guy showing us everything. He showed us the how he would produce the tea by hand. And then after it, he guided us through this hall where all the machines were. And the tea is produced automatically with those machines and dried in big containers. And I was thinking about that because this is something humans do already since 150 years, right? So there's machines that help with mechanical automation. And now you might wonder, what is this? This is some kind of a first computer. And it was developed by Alan Turing. And there's a very cool Netflix movie right now. It's called The Imitation Game. And it's about Alan Turing developing this machine to decode the Nazi coding, Enigma, to then win the World War II. So this machine has quite big contribution for the Allies to win the war. And what did Alan Turing do? While his colleagues calculated by hand, decoded somehow this Enigma, this Nazi code, Alan Turing was working on that machine. And his colleagues said, "Alan, are you kidding us? You're working on that machine. Please help us just to decode everything by hand. We don't believe in your machine." But in the end, this machine was the success factor. And what I want to say with that is automation takes some effort up front, but as soon as you manage it, then it will help you to create success. So this guy is working on a computer, like many of us do right now, also in the L&D departments. And he's probably doing some repetitive tasks, or yeah, maybe if you look at the picture, he has some great ideas. But let's assume he's working on repetitive tasks. He's copying data from an Excel file to a learning management system, and after that, he's downloading some reports from the learning management system and sends emails to his managers to show them how many learners attended some trainings this year or this quarter. And as I showed you with the T factory, also with software, now it's possible. The technology makes it possible to automate those repetitive tasks. There's robots, not physical robots, but software robots that help you interacting with the interface of your computer to drag this data down and do anything this guy is doing right now. Yeah. So I want to talk about some use cases in learning and development that came to my mind when thinking about this. So the first, yeah, and sorry, no, this is a set of, let's say, assumptions that a process needs to be before you automate it. So it has to have a stable infrastructure. So that means you aren't implementing a new learning management system, for example, because this automation needs to be remapped then. So the infrastructure has to be stable. The data has to be structured. So what is difficult to automate is, for example, phone calls. So if you gather feedback from your learners and you gather it via phone calls, then you need artificial intelligence probably to structure the data before you can get to the automation. It has to be easy to read sources. So Excel is a very good example, or dragging down data from a learning management system does also work quite well. Or if you have a Google form or type form, then this data is quite good to read. There has to be few or no exceptions. So of course, let's say you want to automate a feedback process for e-learnings, then if you say that every second e-learning doesn't have feedback because of X, Y, Z, and e-learnings with that length have another feedback sheet than the other e-learnings, then it's more difficult to automate than if there is just one feedback sheet for the e-learnings. And then there has to be high manual effort and high frequency. So if you have to type in data just once to a system, then this is probably not worth to take the effort to automating because you will only do it once, and the automation will take more time than the doing itself. And what is different this time? So you may ask that that question. Whether what has changed, why is automation such a big topic right now, and why are we as bots and people raising this topic right now? So what you see here is the user interface of UiPath. UiPath is a platform with which you can build a software robot. And you can already see it's not super complex. It's not coding. It's a so-called low-code platform where you can drag activities in, like copy all data from Excel file with the name XYZ, and then you, like in a Visio chart, you drag the next activity. Like, okay, after dragging down this data from the Excel file, please upload it in the learning management system. And then you drag the next activity. So it's not, you have to have some logical experience probably with variables and some logical understanding, but you can learn it very fast and it's not coding. And this is the second, after robotic process automation, the second big technology that is worth a look. It's process mining. And process mining, you can, for example, download an event log. So it's what happens in your system is the event log. You download it from your learning management system, you upload it in Celonis, which is the process mining vendor, and then it gives you that nice graph on what is happening in your system. And the nice thing is, right now, a lot of companies and departments and also startups try to write down their processes. But these processes you can drag out of your system are the real processes, because the system event log doesn't lie, so to say. And here is, this is also, I want to underline why it's different. You don't need to have coding experience to work with that big data loads. You can immediately, the system is so intelligent to give you some insights about your data and to show you the process flow. And we will see some example of that later. And then some numbers. So 14% of the global workforce will change because of automation until 2030. There's a 40% job increase for people, for jobs in the field of automation. And these numbers below are quite interesting. So it catched me absolutely when I read about this. It's the left circle with the 6 billion revenue and 85,000 employees is the peak numbers of Blockbuster. So Blockbuster is a kind of let's say older version of Netflix, where you could order movies in the internet, and the movies would be sent to your home as DVDs. And they needed 85,000 employees to get a revenue of $6 billion. And Netflix now needs only 4,500 employees with $9 billion. And this underlines, again, the great opportunities that automating your business model, automating your processes can have for your business. Okay, so let me explain what we mean by automation, and again also explain a little bit what we mean by these technologies. This is a landscape, as you can obviously see. It's a corporate landscape, and what happens in that corporate landscape, there's a lot of tools the company is working with. So they have Salesforce as a customer relationship management program. There's Moodle as learning management system, maybe quite a bit old-fashioned, and they have Workday or SAP SuccessFactors. And Office 365, MailChimp, and they work with a backbone of SAP, like all the finance stuff. And those people between the systems, they do some work. So they are writing Excel files, downloading, emailing, whatever you do in a company. And then there has to be kind of processes or pathways between those programs. So there's people dragging data from Salesforce and writing an email to colleagues about the numbers in Salesforce, for example. And those pathways are kind of the engine of a company. So what is happening? And this is also, we will see later, this is all the things you can identify with process mining and see it, how it actually is. What do we mean by this cutie guy here? He's automating within a tool. So always, if you are choosing a learning management system, for example, or talent management system, then what you should do is look out for automation within the system. It doesn't make sense to program a robot or do any fancy stuff if you can automate within a learning management system and it has already all capacities. Then there's APIs. APIs is like quick solutions between systems. So you can, so to say, an API is like Office 365 delivers a certain entry point to the market. They say, okay, everyone who wants can inject our system with some triggers. And if Salesforce develops a code to do that, then you are possible just by clicking something in back end, you are able to drag data directly from Salesforce and automatically write emails via Office 365. There's some very interesting tools like Zapier or Integromat, where you can do this really by some clicks. And I have also a great example with me how you can connect Thinkific as a learning platform with Typeform, for example, or MailChimp. And then there's software robots. So whenever you don't have APIs and you can't automate within a system, you can build a robot. And a robot is nothing else than mimic the employee typing things on the computer. So yeah, whenever it's not possible to connect programs in the backend, you have to use the user interface, and you can literally watch the robot doing stuff on your desktop. But you can also disable it, so no worries. It will do it without disturbing you from working. And the drone stands for process mining, so watching all that processes and giving you an overview on what is happening and where to automate more, and can show you the also some points where it's not optimal right now. Yeah, and there's some example processes in learning and development. So one example is processing of training costs. So I've seen in my career a lot of companies receiving PDF files from their trainers, from their hotels, from their seminar rooms. And then they will get the email, they will download the PDF file, then they will copy the sum of the costs into an Excel sheet, and there the training price gets calculated per person, for example, and then they will report this to the management. Or there's a lot of companies where there's entering data into the learning management system from another sheet, whatever, like there's exposés sometimes where you initiate a training. So you write down the learning goals, you write down the description of the training, and then some poor person from the administration team has to type this into the learning management system. There's managing lists of attendees. This is also, there's some technology raised in the last a couple of years, like Attend, where you will do this by QR codes. But there's still companies that have lists, manual lists, and they will, the employees of the company will sign on a sheet, and then those data will be typed in by, again, a poor administration person. And also cell training online. I recently published my own training about digital learning for trainers, and there I had also some, like we had to think about how to automatically do it. So usually you have to write invoices with the right VAT sum to your clients, and this can be quite challenging, but there's also hacks on how you can automate those processes. If there's questions in between, I don't know, or we can also do it in the end, but if there is a really burning question, Philip, which fits to what I'm saying, we can also talk about it.
I suggest to just wait till the end. There are already a few questions, but I think it's fine if we discuss it at the end.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. If there's a burning question, I'm keeping track of it. I'll let you know.
Yeah, it feels sometimes like I want to ask you guys to say something, but that's the format for me to just present. Let's keep on. Let's keep on the spirit now. Okay. Yeah. So the first thing about the APIs, what I was saying, is also called cloud automation sometimes, and I'm going to show you what that is. So it's the communication via API, backend automation, I already said. And there on the right side, you see already an example on how you can integrate Thinkific, or how do you pronounce it? I don't get it. Maybe Thinkific as could be. And there you can automate subscribing new Thinkific users to MailChimp. So whenever someone enrolls to a course, you can add those person to a campaign in MailChimp and send a newsletter, for example, to this person, right? And you can really target that. So if someone buys your course on burnout prevention, maybe, then you can send them to your newsletter to about stress. And if someone buys your course on didactics, you can send those person to your campaign on didactics. Yeah. Or like here's another example. So if you have a person you can send on social media, you could send a type form. Type form is a kind of Google Sheet tool, but much cooler, I think. Automation is also to pick the right tools to automate your processes. So it's not only connecting everything, and sometimes you need to think about cleverly which kind of tool you're using. And with Typeform, you could ask people, hey, how much experience do you have in the topic of cultural management, for example? And then all persons that answer those questions with, hey, I have foundation knowledge, basic knowledge, then they will be sent to your basic course or will get that suggested. And if they say, oh, I'm quite experienced, I'm a real pro on the topic of cultural management, you can send those people to your enhanced course or maybe to your master class or whatever you have planned in your campaigns. And this you can connect again with MailChimp to give them the right information at the right time. And this all can be automated, yeah, which gives you a great manpower without being too many people. Yeah. Then the next technology. So this was cloud automation, and the screenshot you saw was on Zapier. You can go to the webpage of Zapier and have a look which kind of tools you can see, and you will see how easy it is. You log in to your accounts and then you get a lot of triggers and can play around. And this is a robotic process automation. So it's the example I was talking about earlier about the training price calculation. So what you see here right now is a robot doing stuff. So sorry for the German text, but I'm going to explain it. So now the robot, not the person, is building a remote connection to the learning management system. Yeah. And I'm not clicking anything. I haven't clicked anything. The robot is doing this. And we slowed this video down on, I think, 10 times. So the robot is really, really fast. Oh, okay. So there's the remote, and then it's typing in the password automatically. Yeah, it's clicking some things. Yeah, and then it's going to the learning management system, to Moodle here, and dragging the number of participants for each training. And in the background, while this is happening, the robot is also dragging all the invoices from a central email address and lay this in a specified folder. And this folder is observed by another robot who sees, there's a PDF file coming in, and then the robot is opening this PDF file and extracts the prices from this PDF for like event costs, as you can see, a bus transfer for trainings, whatever, venue and breakfast, and is typing this into the Excel file. Yeah, and then there's formulas in the Excel sheet and will give you then the right amount for the training price per person. And you could even go further and now send those information automatically with a monthly report to your manager. And then you can either relax or work on creative and cool training concepts, of course. Oh, this is RPA. And then I'm gonna give some words about process mining. So as mentioned, it's dragging event logs, it's dragging actions in your system from to another tool, like to process mining, and then calculating the data. What you can see here is an iceberg, obviously. And there's a lot of iceberg models, I know, but to process mining, it's fitting very well as well. So that's why this is the iceberg, and it's always cool to present an iceberg. So there's processes we see. That is everything we also write down in Visio maybe. So there's a training onboarding, and then this person is going to a classroom. Then this person is getting a check mark in the system, and then it will evaluate the training, and then the process is finished, right? But there's also a lot of things we don't see, like a person is complaining, get into another cohort, the person doesn't evaluate the training, gets reminded, yeah, things like this. And altogether is the reality. And this reality you can see in process mining. So I have a use case here. It's a simple training registration. So what you can see here is the interface of Celonis, again, of process mining. And again, I haven't done anything. You just drag the data file. It's a file, you upload it, and then you have this nice graphs where you can see all the processes. And the process starts, and then someone is registering for a training. Usually then gets enrolled to an e-learning and then completes this e-learning. But then there's also sometimes a manager approval needed in some cases. Yeah, sometimes after the enrollment, the employee, he or she changes a cohort, or there's a new trainer because one trainer is sick and another trainer has to be onboarded, and you can see everything in your processes. And this kind of plus and minus, you can zoom into your process, and you will see many more cases if you zoom in. So there could be some other exceptions on the right side and some more exceptions here. And the interesting part is now, you could, for example, see, okay, new trainer, and then you click in new trainer, or you zoom in and you see, this is always the same trainer who is sick. So maybe this person, this employee, you could ask for support. You could ask if he or she needs support. You can zoom in the approval process, and maybe there's one manager who approves every training and wants that every training gets approved. But all the other managers, or the deal in the company is that usually there's no approval. Then you can talk to this manager and you can say, hey, listen, this is not the process we want to have here. You have to trust your employees, and there is no approval. They can just register and get enrolled. Or just as some examples. Okay, so this is now basic, let's say, understanding of automation, process mining, RPA, cloud automation. I want to give you a really quick overview on what we are doing. If we are not giving a webinar, we create learning paths and certifications about process automation, and within this learning pathways you will find all these technologies. We have upskilling programs for companies. So there is some companies that have a lot of employees that do jobs that will probably not be needed too much in the future, like in banks, insurance. There's a lot of digitization going on, and we try to approach companies to reskill those employees and bring them into the automation career. And work with those tools I just presented. And the cool thing is that you can really learn it within several months already. We also have some online courses about RPA basics, for example, and we have developers that can help also to realize automation projects. Like, developer is we should recall this an engineer, because it's not really a developer, because the person doesn't need coding skills. It's rather working with those tools. And a company than people in corporates to learn how to do it, right? Because there's a lot of consultancies right now doing projects, but in the end, the company itself has to know how to create the robot and how to maintain the robot, for example, or the cloud automation APIs. Yeah. And it's really important to upskill right now in the topic of automation, not only if you want to do a career in automation, but also if you are a L&D manager, for example, because you can get the basic knowledge really, really fast and get a high return on invest really, really fast. You can creative asset on, you can focus asset on creative tasks again, and automation experts will be valuable for the whole company. Yeah, if you have a use case on what you've done in the learning management system, maybe the marketing department will approach you on how to do the same with your CRM system. This is again an overview of our career path and basically all the technologies I just gave some insights about are in that program. It's a 10-week program, and we have live sessions with companies like Lufthansa, Deloitte, with Adidas, who present cases from the practice, and you will also develop robots by yourself already and work with process mining. Also, if you have any question, because we are an L&D community, on how we set up this training, on how we planned everything, then I'm also happy to have a call afterwards, have a coffee afterwards in Factory Berlin, for example, to talk about this. Yeah. And of course, if you register or know someone who could find this interesting, you can get a discount with the code that is shown here. And you can also write us an email at any time or drop me a message in LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect and network.
Thank you very much, Nico. Great presentation.
Welcome.
Enjoyed it a lot. Thank you.
Cool.
I keep looking at my screen. It looks like I'm Hi. We got a bunch of questions in Slido already, which I'm just going to ask based on their priorities. Everybody else is still invited to raise questions. Just go to Slido. The link is in the chat. Raise your questions if you have any. But before I go to the questions that our audience raised and asked, I have a few more of myself. I'm actually really quite interested in the whole automation space, what there is to come, how the whole things are going to develop, and of the relevance and also the convenience that it offers. But I still do struggle sometimes a little bit between the differences of process mining and then the software robots. And you mentioned both things. And I'd like you to explain a little bit more, not in technical terms, but more in the sense of what's happening and what's the value when it comes to process mining. And then afterwards, let's look at the software robots.
Yeah. So process mining is really dragging the data from the existing systems and all the event logs. Also everything what happens within the system you will see, uncover, and you can watch it. It's just a big data analysis, I would say. It's not doing anything. It's just analyzing and gives you insights about your processes.
Okay.
And then, for example, if you see that there is a process that takes a lot of time because whatever reason, like you could see in process mining that one person has to bring data from an Excel file into the learning management system, you would see the days on how long it takes until the system gets the input. And then you can analyze it, and then you could think about using software robots to make it faster, for example. So,
So what I understand is the mining refers to getting all this information from all the systems that you have. So basically it extracts the data and looks at what's happening there. And then you say there's a focus on the time something takes, a timestamp. Like when I create my Word document or my PowerPoint presentation, you see the timestamp. Okay, and then it does take someone or a program to actually identify, hey, there's a huge gap between step 7 and step 8 in that process. Let's look at this. How can we improve it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Exactly.
got it.
Yeah.
So this is basically providing the ground, then what you said, for a software robot that could improve that step 7 to 8.
Exactly. Yeah.
How?
And sometimes you have so let's say like in the example before, if you have in process mining, you see then this approval step from a manager. You shouldn't think, okay, how can I automate this? But you could think the first time, do I need this process at all? Right? And then you should lean up your processes first, and then what is still necessary, you can automate. Actually, the use cases for software robots, it's quite special sometimes. Yeah.
So process mining is all about finding ways and then identifying the low-hanging fruits, but also the potential for increasing efficiency.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, got it. And then the software robots that I do quite get, right? It's basically what I do, just a lot faster, and I don't have to do it. But what I never understand is, how do they find, and that might be a little too specific, or like might be a little more specific, but how does the robot know where to click and insert what?
Yeah, that's a really cool question. It's with OCR is the technology behind it, but I should answer not too technical, right? It's OCR, and it really detects the pixels on your desktop. And then it gives you, like, it calculates on where a button is, and then it recognizes this button again and says, this was the button the user told me. It looks quite similar to that what the user showed me, and then it's clicking on it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it is a very specific question that I asked you. I realize now. But for me, as someone who wants this robot to take over the tedious and repetitive tasks, so I can focus on the tasks I enjoy more, I don't have to understand any about this, right? I just have to tell them what to do, where to click, and in the background, this calculation of pixels happens, right?
Yeah, you can even draw then a rectangle. Is it called rectangle? Yeah, rectangle. around the button in the tool. So you create, as we could see in this. Wait. Oh no. Okay. Yeah. So you drop the activity here. So what you want to do, like a sequency or whatever, and then you click. You can have the trigger click on, and then you really draw a rectangle around the button you want to click, or via a drop-down list, you can choose an Excel file. So the place where an Excel file is saved, and then you say, okay, within this Excel file, take cell C5, and then you connect it with the next triggers. Yeah.
All right. So it's more or less creating a flow chart.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, very cool. It looks actually quite easy. It always sounds so complicated, but it looks quite easy.
Yeah.
Let's move on to a few more questions that we have here on Slido. One question might be a little more provocative. Why should I even use the software robots that we were just talking about when the automation is already covered within our LMS?
Yeah, that question exactly reflects what I was saying. So you shouldn't use software robots when the automation is covered within the system. But there's always cases where systems have to interact which have no APIs. So let's say a company is still using a self-programmed online shop, for example, or an order shop where it orders new things for the company. And there's no API to it, and then you have maybe an inventory list, and you can see on that inventory list when something is empty, and then a software robot can tell this shop on when to order something new. Of course, you could always then think about implementing a new tool which has this automations. Yeah. Some in the automation scene say that RPA is a transition technology.
All the way till there is a tool then established, because this process has it's spread so far that it's worth creating that tool.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. But then it makes RPA extremely powerful, right? Because you don't need to wait for any kind of tools, and you can really customize the automation.
Yeah, it's the Fluch and Segen. It's the grudge and I don't know if you can say that in English. It's good and bad at the same time, because it helps you. Of course, you can automate anything because it's UI based, so user interface based. But many companies tend to then automate everything with robots and fix it like a kit. You fix the programs and connect it together, rather than thinking about the strategy on how to lean up the processes, and maybe then also retire some older tools.
Okay, cool. With another question that asks, what kind of previous knowledge is necessary? Do I need to build, or do I need to have to build software robots working with process mining? So focusing again on the UI robots, but also on the process mining. What do I need to know if I want to dive deeper into that topic?
So of course, a basic technical understanding helps, and logical understanding, but you don't need to be able to code. And usually it takes 2 or 3 months until you really can work with the systems.
Is it the tool that I have to learn, like the one you have on the slide here? Do I need to know where all the functions and options are? Or is it more about the process and the logic that takes me the 3 months?
So the process and the probably 50-50. Like you have to get the basic understanding of automation and business process management, but really, really basic. Probably a lot of L&D managers know about this already. And then learning the tools, of course, you have to understand where the buttons are, and also what to do with it. It's not self-explaining. This is what vendors often market, that it's so easy and self-explaining, but actually you need to work with it sometime. Like Photoshop. Photoshop you also can't use immediately, but it's also not too heavy to understand.
Okay. You need to have a case and you need to get your hands on it. But you don't need to have a degree in computer science.
No.
And also not necessarily be an industry expert, because you then might have the clients or whoever to help you and walk you through the process. All right. What are the prerequisites within the technical setup of a company, within their IT landscape, to actually be able to use a tool such as Celonis or UiPath to automate processes?
Yeah. So this it's either cloud software or it can be installed on premise. So there's basically no prerequisites.
Okay.
You can install it and then you track the data in, and a software robot, the same. It will be installed like Microsoft Word, and then it can connect with all the other tools and programs.
Okay, cool. That sounds easy. That sounds something our IT could do.
Yeah.
If I can't or don't have the time, don't have the knowledge, don't want to risk of doing any mistakes on these kind of things, are there freelancers that I can hire to either look at processes like you mentioned in your presentation early on, where there's actually potential, and then also in an extension of this, help me to set up a tool and automate processes?
Yeah, so I would encourage everyone to automate by him or herself, because I mean, you are the experts for your processes, so that makes it easy. And also, if we had one call with a hospital, and they have a software robot, and this got completely developed by a consultancy. And the employee was so happy. He said, usually I needed to get up at 6 in the morning, drive to the office, and then start a process. I don't know what it was. I think it was printing out something for the salespersons. That's, yeah. And whatever a hospital sells, I'm I'm not sure about it anymore. But he said that this helped a lot, that he could sleep longer because a robot does it now, like sending emails to the salespersons. But suddenly this robot stopped working, and nobody could understand on what happened. And this person had to get up early again. And they needed to give then the next project to that consultancy. And this slows down everything quite a bit. And especially because this is quite easy, we encourage everyone to get the knowledge by him or herself. But of course, to have the initial understanding and maybe to accompany in the first projects, it can be helpful to also hire freelancers. And you can also contact us. We have a network and can connect with some freelancers then.
Okay, maybe as a kickstart, but then your
Yeah,
recommendation is don't become
yeah,
dependent on consulting firms and freelancers, but rather
yeah,
in-house knowledge. All right,
exactly. Yeah.
gotcha. You were mentioning it. The guy was very happy because he didn't have to get up very early in the morning. That sounds like a great achievement and a total improvement to his life. And I know what he's talking about because I have a little daughter, and she makes sure I get up early in the morning, no matter what day. But it also comes or might come with a price, right? We talk about automating processes and work. This is also coming with the worries, which are or might be justified. Let's see what your take on this is. That we are losing jobs, yeah, that we're destroying jobs that currently now have to be done by hand and by people. But when it becomes so easy to automate these things, like basically clicking with the cursor through some interfaces, some web pages, if this is taken over by all these robots, aren't we running a risk of creating a large unemployment in our society? What's your take on this rather ethical issue?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's also a very valid point. And it might happen that robots do jobs that people have done before. But this is what history showed us several times. Like when like I showed the mechanical repetitive tasks got automated. There were some people that had to shift from this mechanical repetitive working to another job. And yeah, this can happen with this repetitive software task as well. But there's several reasons why the robots won't take the jobs. So the first reason is that the automation field itself will generate a lot of jobs, like here working with those systems, connecting software with each other. Also in the field of artificial intelligence, there will be a lot of jobs. Then the demographic changes. So there is less good employees than before, and this is the society gets older, at least in Germany, but also some other countries, where there is not enough workers to fulfill all the needs we have right now. So that is why robots are necessary and automation is necessary to keep on holding our living standards. That's
Mm-hmm.
at least our opinion on that. And then, of course, it might take some time until people then shift into a new role, and it's always difficult to shift into a new role. But we also believe in that humans are made for doing creative tasks, and not just repetitive clicking around somewhere. So that is why we see it positive.
Okay. So my interpretation of what you just said is basically in history we have always seen that humans tend to outsource repetitive tasks to machines, and whether it be assembly lines 100 years ago, now it'll be software robots, and all these forms of, and if you want to call it industrial revolutions, always do create new jobs and seem to do create also more well-being and wealth and healthier work-life relationship as compared to 100 years ago, and maybe as compared to now when we look back 100 years from now.
Yeah.
Potentially. All right. Cool. That sounds like a bright future. Working. Yeah. I have one last question for you, and then maybe if you want to finish up a few more comments from your side, if you have any, or if you want to say anything that hasn't been said yet, because it's already time to wrap it up. And it is for the audience right now. If I'm interested in getting started with the whole RPA, automating software robots, process mining, everything, because I'm convinced it'll make my life easier. I'm convinced it'll benefit my company. What would you suggest? Where's a good starting point? Is there a community you can join? Is there a good YouTube video? Is there your training program, for example? What's the resources you would recommend to dive deeper into that topic than what we have heard here today? So how can we move on from here?
Yeah. So there is quite some sources where you can dig deeper into the topic. We have also a podcast which you can listen to get first like impressions to the topic of automation. We have really interesting interviews on conversational AI was the last episode, for example. And this is a good starting point.
The name of the podcast?
Bots and People. We've been creative, yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, and then of course also, yeah, I'm not a salesperson, but our automation strategist program is really good to get a foundation understanding of it. And you can also go to the software vendors like Celonis, UiPath. They also have some training material where you can have a first anchor point to look into the topics.
All right. So Bots and People, look it up, podcasts, trainings, informations, and then also wherever there are the tools for automating and training these software robots, they do have some tutorials as well.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Due to the time, I see just another question popping up. Can you please share the links you just mentioned? I'd say we make sure Ola is going to share it through the BurLearn Slack channel, for example, and maybe also on LinkedIn. So for everybody listening here and want to have the links, Ola or we're also part of the Slack channel, going to post it over there. So join the Slack channel. And do you have any resources in English is another question that just popped up. The things that you've mentioned, the resources, the podcast, I believe, is not in English.
But we plan the first episodes now also in English language, and also our program is also available in English.
Okay, and the vendors are international, I assume, so they're probably already right. Okay.
Yeah, but and I'm also happy if someone wants to, like, if you want to drop me a note in LinkedIn, I'm also happy to help there and connect with you. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So either LinkedIn, your homepage, the Slack channel of BurLearn. That's where we're going to make sure that the resources and the links to the resources are available. Nico, thank you very much. Do you have any last words, comments, anything else just drop or hand over, give to the audience before we say goodbye?
Yeah, processes are sexy. It's because it always sounds so boring, and also for me as an L&D person in the beginning it was our processes really, but processes are showing how things work, and it's just interesting how things work. Yeah,
Okay, processes are sexy.
processes are sexy. Yeah.
That is a good statement, a good last comment for letting everybody go out and enjoy the time after work and the evening in Berlin or wherever you guys are. Nico, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot to Berlearn. Thanks a lot to Ola for making this possible. Thanks a lot for everybody who's listening and has been asking questions and interested in the topic. I just like to mention the next event. I have no idea when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen soon. The next Berlearn event. Also, go to the homepage or the Slack channel to keep up to date about the events. And the next one is going to be all together with soft labels. That is a very interesting topic as well. I decided to automate the processes. How do you help? Thanks everybody. Have a great night and see you around. Bye.
Bye bye.